Did I ever tell you how much I hate winter? Yeah. I feel out here in the wilderness like I'm a ship stranded at sea, searching for landfall, waiting for spring to come. Yeah, that's kind of the way it is here. I hate snow. I hate winter. I mean, you can see we probably got 6 inches of snow here by looking at the level on the boardwalk there. And it's kind of snowing right now. It was snowing more heavily this morning, but it's kind of let up a little bit. So I've got my sidewalk to clean off again and my walkway out to the garage. Get a little work put in this morning. What's happening, cats? I think there's a lot of bikers that share the same sentiment with me. I mean, yeah, winter is beautiful. You know, I'll grant you that. But I don't like pushing the snow. I don't like having to burn wood to heat my house. And going through that whole rigmarole. I don't like having to come out here in the garage and start a cold vehicle with my butt frozen to the seat, my hands frozen to the steering wheel. I don't like winter. And I miss riding. I won't even try to start the old Fat Boy right now. The motor's so cold, the oil is so thick, it's like tar. It would barely crank over. I could put the space heater on it for a while and warm up the motor, and then it'll fire right up. I don't winterize this thing. It's always ready to run, but it probably isn't going to be running for another 2 months anyways. So, but I'm still maintaining it, making sure everything's in tip-top shape. But no, I'm not going to be riding it. There was a day when I brought this in the house, and well, I'll tell you that story in a minute here. Yeah, I remember the day that I brought my Harley, my brand new 99 Fat Boy home. It was 1998. Didn't have that garage out there, and we didn't have that shed out there either. So I had nowhere to park it except right here on the sidewalk. And that wasn't going to fly, so I had to come up with another solution. My idea was to get it in the house, but trying to get it up these stairs would have been a real challenge, if even that. With an 800-pound bike, it wasn't going to happen, so I had to come up with plan B. How was I going to get my bike in the house? Well, the wife wasn't too happy about that at the time, but when you spend $20,000 on a motorcycle, you just don't want to leave it sitting out in the weather. And I think that was kind of the selling factor, that we had to do something, and probably the only thing we could do is get it in the house. The idea was if I could get it onto the back deck, a lot easier than the front porch, I could get it in through the back door and I could park it right here in the kitchen, Well, that was the idea anyway. Well, I went to the big store hardware and I bought a heavy sheet of 3/4 inch plywood and some 2x4 framing. And on these back steps here, I built a ramp. Now, that tree wasn't there at the time. If it was just a little tiny seedling. But I made a ramp going down, and it went from this top step about 8 foot out. So it was a pretty steep angle, and that handrail was not there on the side. It was just, all I had was this opening here, which I thought was plenty enough to get the bike straight up. I could get it up here on the back deck. I could maneuver it around and get it, lined up with the back door, and then I could snake it in through the back door. Well, I built the ramp, everything looked good, and I brought the bike around through the grass, and it was summertime. Probably late summer, probably in the fall, and I brought it around, and I lined it up, and then I started to roll up the ramp. Well, almost got the front wheel to the top of the ramp, and the back wheel hit that plywood, and it was like on grease or like ice. It broke traction right away. It wouldn't go up the ramp anymore. And when I tried to put my feet down, I went right off the edge of the ramp that way. So yeah, the bike went over, uh, actually almost completely upside down. Landed on my leg. I wasn't injured, but I was kind of semi-pinned there. Thankfully, I think my son was there to help me get the weight off of it so I could get my leg out. The gas was dripping out of the gas tank, and oh. Now, luckily, it was really soft ground there. I mean, it was just yard there at the time, and it didn't do a lot of damage. I think it bent the mirror. I don't remember it being a whole lot of damage at all. There wasn't any real damage to the paint or anything like that. So it wasn't too bad. Well, I took it back out and parked it on the sidewalk and had to come up with Plan B. So I scratched my head for a long time, thinking, what can I do? I need that plywood to be not slippery. And I thought, well, you can buy that non-slip surface stuff, but I thought, no, that's not going to work very well. I mean, it wouldn't, the adhesive wouldn't stick to that treated plywood very well. Well, I ended up getting some of that expanded aluminum or steel that they use for plastering, you know, and kind of similar to this stuff that I have on the back door, that expanded metal, but it was not that heavy grade there. It was a finer grade, and I bought a sheet of that, and I took like fence staples and I put it right down the ramp. When I got that done, I brought the bike around, I lined it up, I said a quick prayer, and it went right up the ramp, right up onto the back deck. No problem. So I negotiated it around there. It was able to snake it in through the door, which wasn't an easy challenge either. I mean, just getting the handlebars through there for one thing, and then the saddlebags alone just barely cleared, you know, the width of that door. And we got it in and parked it right here in the kitchen. Well, as you can see, when you got a Harley Davidson taking up this, it pretty much took up this whole space. And it was hard to get in here to use the island. It was difficult to use the dining room table. So we had to come up with a different idea. And that's when I thought, well, there's plenty of room along the bottom of the steps here. Now that roll top desk wasn't there. So I found a rug that I put down. I bought a rug and laid it down there, and moved these couches out of the way and stuff. Brought the bike around and snaked it in there and parked it right up against this wall. And that was its home for the winter. Now, it was kind of out of the way there. You could walk back and forth there without any problem. I don't remember exactly what our furniture setup was, but it wasn't this. I think we had a chair over here, maybe a couch over here. Yeah, we didn't have the furniture that we have today. But the bike sat there. And at Christmas time, we not only decorated the Christmas tree, but we also decorated the bike and put the Christmas lights on it too. So it was real pretty there. And you know, I had it all polished up, like all the chrome polished and everything. So it was really kind of a centerpiece. And when our guests would come over, they'd be like, "Wow, that's pretty cool. You got your bike in the house." And I was comfortable with it in the house. That you know, I mean, I shut the gas off and took all the safety steps so that, you know, we wouldn't have any problems, because again, we were heating with wood even at that time, and I didn't want to blow the house up either. Well, I think it was realized at that point that bringing it in the house was quite a challenge. and I did it often. I didn't, during the summertime, I didn't park it over here. I would just park it right in here. And I would only bring it in the evening, because during the day, I'd be out riding it. And sometimes I would just leave it on the front sidewalk. But I knew eventually that I had to uh, get some way to store it. So I ended up building a shed. So we bought the kit for the shed out there, and I built that, threw that together, and that was plenty big enough to park the Harley in there, and that made life a whole lot easier. So the ramp came off of the back steps, and there was no more bringing the bike in the house. I've said this before, I'm no electrician, but I wanted to have electric out there where I could keep a battery tender on it or do anything else I needed to do out there. Have lights out there when I wanted to go out there in the evening. Or, when I came home after dark, I wanted to be able to turn a light on out there. So, like a bonehead, I ran an underground electric cable from the house all the way out to the shed. The cable that I put underground was not rated for underground use, and it was just a hack job. But it got electricity out there, and for a year, that's what I used out there until one day somehow the underground cable got compromised and blew the circuit breaker, and I said, all right, I got to disconnect this. I'm not going to burn my house down. I'm not going to get electrocuted. Uh, I disconnected it, so there was no more electricity out there, and I had a little battery-powered light out there that kind of worked. It was good enough. It was sufficient enough. It wasn't until V moved in here with me, and she said, "We got to have a garage." I mean, we were parking our cars right here in the driveway, and there was one year where her car was parked right here, and she had a little Mitsubishi sports car, and it was completely covered with snow. The snow drifted over it. You couldn't even see the car. And she said, we got to have a garage. And so we pooled our money together, and I had a friend build this garage for me for dirt cheap. And it's been the best thing that ever happened. Uh, the only thing that would make that better is if it was insulated and heated. And I know we've talked about that quite a bit, and it's just not going to happen right now because it's a little bit of an expense. The labor I'm not worried about, but just the cost factor right now and how I would go about that. So, anyway, that's the story on the 99 Fat Boy when we first bought it. And, I'll never forget. Well, happy birthday to my son, Jordan, today. His birthday was Tuesday. And I took him out to the Dragon Buffet, the Asian buffet. They got really good food there, lots of food, and you can't beat the price. It's one of his favorite places to eat, so I took him and my grandson came along. I invited the whole family, but the girls had, I think my granddaughter had a wrestling tournament, and my daughter-in-law was involved with something else there at the school. And so it was just my son and my grandson that showed up, and we had a pretty good time. We filled our bellies full of Asian food and then some. So yeah, happy birthday, Jordan. These winter months just go by so slow for me. I mean, I'm a biker, and I realize at this point how much time I actually spent out riding during the summer. Because now, obviously, you're not going to ride in this weather. It's below 20 degrees. There's, snow. The roads are slippery and covered with salt. Uh, so the riding is out right now, and I feel like I'm trapped in the house. I mean, I get out a lot of times just because I can't be sitting here all day by myself. It's very hard. And I mean, it can get depressing too. I mean, the more you sit around, the more you start to think and you start remembering the way things used to be, and things are not the same anymore for me. Um, Life is completely different being here all by myself. Uh, with the loss of my wife, it was a huge, huge challenge for me, and I still struggle with that here. So a lot of times I'm just like, I got to get out of here. I don't care what I do. I got to get out of here. I'll go somewhere and go out to dinner. I'll go to Walmart just because I need one or two things. I'll sometimes I'll just take a drive somewhere, or my most favorite thing is when somebody invites me. The neighbors had invited me over for a chili dinner the other day, and that was a lot of fun. But my son has invited me down to their house for dinner, so things like that, lift my spirits, and I'm very, very grateful for that, for family and for friends. But in the meantime, I mean, that doesn't happen every day, and it is what it is. I just have to deal with it. So I try to find things around here to occupy my time. Uh, Hence the model building, because I really enjoy that, and every day I spend a little bit of time building my model kits, and it just it brings me joy. So the other night, my high school alumni decided they were going to have a holiday get together at the local sports pub, and everyone was invited. It didn't matter. I mean, it wasn't just for my class. It was for anybody that ever went to high school where I grew up was invited to come to this thing. And they have it every year, and I've gone in the past. And there's always all the guys that I know there, and some of the ladies that I grew up with. So it's always a fun time. So they had that scheduled the other night. And it had snowed that morning. It wasn't a blizzard or anything close to that. Sometimes there was some pretty heavy squalls, but it wasn't like persistent. There wasn't any high winds or anything like that went with it. And then in the afternoon, sometime afternoon hour, it kind of stopped snowing. It cleared out. And the sun actually came out for a minute or two. It didn't stay long. It just kind of said hello, and then it was gone again. So I drove into town that evening and went to the sports pub, and I walked in there. And I walked through that whole place, and there wasn't one person in there that I knew, and there wasn't one person in there from my high school. And I thought, what's going on? This is weird. They said the thing started at 6 o'clock. Well, it was like 8:30 when I got there, and you wouldn't think that somebody showed up there for a high school gathering and only stayed for an hour and left. There was nobody there. Although the place was crowded, there was a bunch of other people there, and I thought, what the heck? So I came home, and I was scratching my head. I looked, and I had the date right. Well, I opened up my Facebook, and they had a Facebook post on there. Sorry, because of the terrible, horrible weather, we canceled the gathering. I was like, what? I was a little irritated, only for the fact that I drove all the way up there and there was nothing going on out there. And, the only thing they did was they posted on Facebook, of all things, that the event was canceled. So anybody that looked at Facebook would know that, but I had been out driving around, and I'm not one that spends time on my phone looking at my Facebook, so I didn't know the event was canceled. So I was a little irritated over that. I was looking forward to a good time, having some camaraderie with some old friends, something to keep me occupied. But what happened? I ended up right back here at home. bummed out, depressed, and I was irritated over the fact that the whole Facebook thing just irritates me sometimes, you know. And I thought, well, why would they cancel it for everybody when people like me had absolutely zero problem getting up there? Even if one or two people were there that I knew, I would have been happy to hang out with for a little while. But anyway, yeah, it is what it is. I'm just grateful for the times that I do get to hang out with friends and family, and I really look forward to that. I got the rest of January to go through, February, March, before the weather starts to break. Uh, Hard to tell what's going to happen from here on out. My schedule is pretty much open. I don't have a whole lot going on at this point. But time will tell. Well, anyway, thanks for you guys hanging out with me. I appreciate that. I appreciate all your support, your prayers. I continue to pray for you guys, and I am so grateful for your friendship. I love the comments. I love to read the comments. I look forward to them, and hopefully in this next coming year I can continue to entertain you with some good stuff. Till next time, cats. I'd say ride hard and die free, but it's hardly riding weather, so I'll catch you next time.